We do not know why we are here. We do not know who built the silo. We do not know why everything outside the silo is as it is. We do not know when it will be safe to go outside.
And that's everything you need to know about the first 2 seasons of Apple TV's Silo, based on the trilogy of novels by Hugh Howey. Okay, bye. Thanks. No, wait. Actually, just kidding. There's a lot more to understand about this wild post-apocalyptic epic, with a 4th and final season already greenlit and filmed. This is everything you need to know about Silo before season 3 starts streaming. The basic premise of Silo is that about 10,000 people live in a massive underground, you're not going to believe this, silo. There are no elevators, just enormous winding stairs in the center of the silo, and only basic 1980s level computers. At least that's what we're told. So, every level of the multiple level bunker, from the mechanical level towards the bottom that keeps the machines powering the silo running, all the way up to the mysterious IT department, all have their own focus and culture. They've also, per the speech at the top of this video, never ever gone outside. Or rather, there is one reason to go outside, as we discovered in the series premiere: to clean. In the main cafeteria of the silo, there's a massive screen showing the outside, which is a burnout ruin. Alison Becker, played by Rashida Jones, starts to get suspicious that not everything is what it seems, so she requests to go outside and clean the camera showing what's outside the silo, which often gets dusty, making it hard to see that burnout ruin, littered with dead bodies. Allison thinks that maybe the people of the silo are being kept there against their will. She goes outside, she cleans the camera, begins to walk up the hill the camera focuses on, and dies. Oop. Later, her husband, Holston, played by David Oyelowo, becomes suspicious of her death. He's the sheriff of the silo, and his investigation leads him to head outside to clean the camera. And, yep, just as Allison discovered, it's actually beautiful out there. So he takes off his helmet and dies. As Homer Simpson once said, "No!" If that all seems a little nuts, it gets nutser when you realize that's merely the first 2 episodes of season 1, killing off 2 major stars in 2 simple hours of TV. It isn't until episode 3 that we really pivot to the actual main character of the show, Juliet Nichols, played by Rebecca Ferguson. She's a genius engineer working in mechanical, who surprisingly ends up being Holston's posthumous pick to become sheriff after he dies by helmet removal. What does Juliet do once she's made sheriff? While also investigating what happened to Holston and Allison, she goes outside to clean and dies. Just kidding. Again, though she does go outside to clean much later in the series and doesn't die, unless she does. Season 2 ended on a cliffhanger. Up until this point, being the main character of Silo is akin to becoming the Defense Against Dark Arts teacher, where you immediately go outside and clean and die. Instead, Juliet becomes central to unraveling the massive conspiracy that is keeping everyone inside the silo, as well as key to discovering what is actually outside the silo. And it's not what you might think. There are a few elements the show was juggling in season 1 that became more important as things go on. The first is that Juliet's lover George, played by Ferdinand Kingsley, collected relics, aka things from the before times, like little toys and Pez dispensers. Nobody in the silo knows what these things actually are, they just know that they're forbidden. George was also looking for what he claimed was a massive door under the silo. Given there's only one door out of the silo, meaning the door everyone goes out to clean and then dies, that's huge if true. And Juliet begins retracing George's steps after his death to find this door, though she ultimately isn't the one who finds it. George, by the way, dies before the show even starts, and not by cleaning. More on that in a moment. Another thing George found: a hard drive from over 140 years ago, before a rebellion in that silo happened, which, we're told, destroyed all prior records. On the hard drive are a number of things, but the most important is a message from George, which instructs Juliet to watch a video from a past cleaning, which reveals the outside is green and beautiful, with birds flying by in the sky. Given that nobody in the silo has ever seen the sky, or green grass, or birds, they find all this relatively simple footage entirely impossible to process, emotionally or intellectually. Other than, what is outside the silo seems to not be what they've been told: a deserted wasteland that will instantly kill them. Before we get to what happens in that footage, we should jump back and introduce Bernard, played by Tim Robbins, a guy who knows a little something about escaping soul-destroying prisons. Bernard is the head of IT and becomes mayor of the silo after the previous mayor dies, not going outside to clean, but of being poisoned. Bernard desperately does not want anyone to find out what's going on with the silo, which sets him up as the main antagonist for Juliet, who very much would like to know what's going on in the silo. By the end of Season 1, Juliet and company reveal the outside footage to the silo by playing it on every screen in the silo, though Bernard is able to shut down the footage quickly. He arrests Juliet for breaking the Pact, a series of Bible-like instructions from the before times, which, among other things, are all along the lines of, hey, don't go outside the silo. Bernard, post-arrest, makes a deal with Juliet. He'll tell her how George died, and she will willingly go outside to clean. Turns out, George jumped to his death over the side of one of the silo staircases rather than be captured, which is a huge bummer. Why'd he do that? He discovered the truth about the silo, which we'll get to later on in this recap.
Shut your eyes. All of you, shut your eyes!
Trapped with this huge and honestly pretty unsatisfying answer to the overarching mystery of what happened to George, Juliet agrees to go out and clean. And it seems like Juliet is going to die, except her de facto mother figure, Walker, played by Harriet Walter, another mechanical-level stalwart, figures out that the hazmat suits everyone is heading outside in have leaks thanks to faulty duct tape. That explains why Allison died back in the series premiere. Her suit wasn't protecting her from the outside, it was leaky. But Walker has a plan to save her sort of daughter and sneaks Juliet the good tape, which means she'll be A-OK. Juliet's suit is now sealed from whatever is outside that is poisoning people and killing them when they clean. And Juliet, when she goes out to clean, is indeed safe. She goes outside, sees the world as a beautiful place, except she also realizes something is wrong. There's a digital signal layered over the reality. Turns out the world outside is not beautiful. It is a desolate wasteland, and the helmet footage is faked, as we discover later, to encourage people to wander away from the silo and die. Why? Short version is to keep people safe and inside. Watching people regularly die while going outside lets the rest of the silo know it's still not safe out there, and otherwise they'd have hope and there would be another rebellion like there was 140 years prior. It doesn't quite work. There is a rebellion in Season 2, but hold your horses there, fella. We'll get to it in a second. At the end of Season 1, realizing the footage is fake and since she has the good tape, Juliet stumbles over the ridge, the end of the camera's view, and goes over the edge. The people in the silo see her do that and start to believe that the outside is safe. Juliet, meanwhile, sees a landscape stretching around her with dozens of other craters and dozens of other silos. Bum, bum, bum. Season 2 of Silo followed two storylines. The first is Juliet making her way to the nearest silo, Silo 17. While back in Silo 18, Bernard tries to squash a burgeoning rebellion spurred on by Juliet's escape. Silo 17, we discover, had a similar situation to Silo 18. Everyone stormed out of the silo and died outside, their bodies littering the landscape. Inside that silo, things are mostly flooded, and the only person that seems to be alive initially is a childlike man named Solo, played by Steve Zahn, who has locked himself inside Silo 17's IT office. Eventually, Juliet bonds with Solo, discovers there are a few more teens/20-somethings barely surviving in the dilapidated silo, and bonds with them as well. Their silo is on the brink of total failure, and what Juliet comes to realize is that Bernard, despite using less than savory methods, is right. If she does not return to her silo and let them know it's not safe to go outside, everyone she knows and loves will die. There are a few other bits of info she discovers during her adventure in Silo 17, specifically that there's what's called a safeguard in every silo, a pipe that pumps poisoned air into the silo, killing everyone inside if that silo is on the brink of failure. Alarmed by this fact, Juliet realizes she needs to get back to her silo, but with Silo 17 collapsing and filled with people she's come to appreciate, she makes a promise not to leave Solo and friends solo, and instead swears she'll come back for them, somehow, after she saves her own silo. Hey, guess which silo is on the brink of failure? Silo 18, aka our original silo, which is rebelling after seeing Juliet stumble over the side of the ridge. That rebellion is led in part by the earnest Knox, played by Shane McRae, and the driven Shirley, played by Remy Milner. Both are engineers who worked with Juliet and start to believe it's their mission to lead the people outside after her, because that's what she wanted them to do. Also, with Juliet out of the way, Knox and Shirley start boning, just so you know. While the people are storming their way upstairs to escape, Bernard is training Lucas, played by Avi Nash, to be the new head of IT. Lucas was the one who got Julie curious about the outside to begin with, and he's also the one who actually discovers the door under the silo that George told Juliet to find way back in season 1. Also, he tried to kiss Juliet once and it was super awkward. Anyway, that door is real, and after discovering there are 50 other silos, Lucas travels to the door only to be told by a strange voice that if he goes through it, they'll release the safeguard.
Do you know what the safeguard is, Mr. Kyle?
I do.
This, by the way, causes Lucas to resign his position, as he realizes that they are being controlled by someone or something outside the silo. And if anyone finds out the truth, everyone dies. He can't live with that truth and cannot carry that responsibility. Also important to mention, as head of IT, Lucas discovers that they are given instructions by what seems to be an advanced AI called the algorithm, which approves of or disapproves of their every move. Bernard isn't the boss, and neither is Lucas. It's the algorithm that's in charge of the silo. All of this comes crashing together in the season 2 finale as Juliet races back to her silo to stop them from escaping so that the safeguard won't be released, killing everyone. When her silo sees her back on the cleaning camera, they celebrate, only for her to show them a note warning them not to go outside. At the same time, having discovered the truth about the silo from Lucas, Bernard voluntarily goes out to clean, which is just when Juliet comes back inside the silo. The two of them are trapped inside a chamber meant to prevent outside infection, and flames shoot out, incinerating them instantly. Or rather, that's where they're left. Are Juliet and Bernard alive? We'll just have to wait and see in season 3, but wait, that's not all. The final scene of season 2 is a jaw-dropper as we're back not in the present, but the near future in Washington, D.C. There we meet Daniel, played by Ashley Zuckerman, a young congressman who thinks he's on a date with a woman named Helen, played by Jessica Henwick. He's not. She's a reporter and wants to know about a dirty bomb detonated by Iran and whether the U.S. is headed to war. The U.S. going to war with Iran? What are these crazy sci-fi ideas about? In any case, while we don't know exactly how this connects to the future set plot of Silo as of yet, Daniel does bring Helen a gift, a Pez dispenser, which we've seen passed around several times as a relic in the Silo. So there is some connection between Daniel and Helen and Silo 18. We just don't know what or how. But wait, there's even more! Beyond everyone we've mentioned so far, there are a number of other vital characters to understanding the world of Silo, beyond Juliet and Bernard. The most important, at least for season 3, are Robert Sims, played by Common, and his wife Camille, played by Alexandra Riley. Robert is the head of security and main enforcer for Bernard throughout most of the series, while Camille is essentially the Lady Macbeth to his Macbeth, constantly whispering in Robert's ear and encouraging him to do more and be more. That all crested in the season 2 finale when Bernard begrudgingly made Robert his IT shadow on his way out the door, only for the algorithm to choose Camille, not Robert, as the new main contact for the AI and the holder of all the knowledge.
You and your son must leave the vault.
There's another important couple to mention, Paul Billings, played by Chinasa Uche, and his wife Kathleen, played by Caitlin Zaz. In a parallel to the Sims family, the Billings are also hiding secrets. However, it's that Paul, who becomes sheriff after Juliet leaves the silo, has the syndrome, a steadily worsening medical condition. Kathleen is also constantly whispering in Paul's ear, though she mostly wants him to be safe. Though that changes when they find some relics with pictures of the outside world in an old children's book. And one last character you need to know about is Patrick Kennedy, played by Rick Gomez. Patrick has been an odd outlier in the show, first wrongfully accused of killing the mayor, then becoming obsessed with the outside footage on the drive and convinced that what they're seeing on the camera is a lie. Another detail you might want to remember, ironically, about Patrick is that at one point, Sims offers Patrick a drug to help him forget his dead wife. This isn't an idle plot point, it's a crucial one, as later in Season 2, Lucas discovers what happened 140 years ago and why there are no records in the silo. That's because a former head of IT named Salvador Quinn was dealing with rebellions about every 20 years. Instead of having to wrestle with this regular headache, he put the forgetfulness drug into the water and destroyed all of the silo's records, realizing that it was memory that was causing the problems. So, in short, 140 years ago, everyone in the silo had their memories wiped so they wouldn't have knowledge of the before times and know there was at least at one point something beyond the silo. Got all that? Camille Sims is now in charge of Silo 18, while Silo 17 is flooding and Steve Zahn is being weird. There's a big door at the bottom of the silos, there are 51 silos by the way, that yells at you if you try to touch it. while there's a very similar sounding AI named the Algorithm, which is calling the shots. There's forgetfulness drugs in the mix, and if anyone finds out the secrets of the silo, a safeguard, aka poison gas, will be released, killing everyone inside. Plus, while Shirley and Knox's rebellion has been squashed by the return of Juliet, Patrick is still out there somewhere fomenting rebellion, thanks to his erroneous belief that the beautiful outside footage is real. And in the nearer-to-us future, a congressman named Daniel may know something about a war between the US and Iran, which his not-a-date Helen, a journalist, would very much like to know more about. How does this all connect, and how will it all wrap up in the next 2 seasons? We'll find out when we say hello to Silo Season 3 when it hits Apple TV on July 3rd.